China currently is a growing society relying upon much on industrialization over farming. But its industrial growth began with Mao Zedong and the Communist Revolution around half a century ago. Before it took up an industrial communist position, it was in many different states based around an agrarian society, like the Qing Dynasty and the Kuomintang. As a result of it all, farms transitioned to factories, and China was reborn. But that is no issue. The issue being around the results of what came of the economic growth itself, being as a result pollution and a lot of different and terrible outcomes, which would mainly affect all growth that the government had of succeeding within the future and now. The problem in China being much of the pollution that has come of this industrialization, all theorized by Mao Zedong in 1949. But in many places, like the Guangdong province, manufacturing workforce is needed to supply this new demand. A workforce of 18 million work together to aid this rising economy. That workforce is even greater than the entire U.S. workforce alone. But within the country's entire population, a result of the industrialization being that around 500 million are without clean water. Looking around, we see the model city of Shanghai go through similar occurrences all throughout the country. One being that it spends around $429 million, while Beijing spends around $328 million, while China as a whole spends over $100 billion. The city relies mainly is the dirtiest modern resource, coal. China is known for it taking the place as number one for producing and consuming coal. With the overuse of coal, smog shrouds the city, making conditions in cities like Shanghai and Beijing unbearable to even breathe. Going along with the idea, smog and coal fumes are quite the common occurrence within China, thus making the residents having to wear masks all throughout the day, whenever outside really. Another thing that's been plaguing the people is a pollution-related cancer, which takes the number one spot as cause of death. Elsewhere in the city, arsenic can be found within the soil, and other dangerous heavy metals as well. In the air, the quality of air itself has risen to beyond the hazardous level 755 in Beijing. To compare, 300 is the point in which it is hazardous, and 20 is the point where it's considered healthy enough to breathe. Soil and air aren't the only things that are truly affected by what's in the city. There is also much problems within the water source of it all. About 15% of it is actually undrinkable, and 10% is clearly unsafe. There has also been much pressure upon China for the actions taken in disposing of the sewage from the plants. Not only has the pollution been wreaking havoc upon China, but also the neighboring nations including Japan and South Korea. Tokyo, Japan. Acid rains upon the people as a result of coal emissions originating in major cities like Beijing and Shanghai in China, thus allowing the nations to address the issue even with strained relations over territory disputes in the past, including that of World War II and presently. Like Tokyo, Seoul faces much of the problems with the acid rain emitted from China, so it also has to meet in with the others. But unlike the two of them, the United States also stands out as one of the people who have to intervene and meet upon the issue. The US is the one who asks for much of the exports that originate in China, so its economy is based around one another. That and they both are in the same position. They're both the two big bad boys of pollution. After all, they are both the biggest polluters. Even with them meeting, not much can be changed. If the US intervened, even with China's coal consumption, that is, it would harm both economies. It's already been seen that if affected, the GDP will decrease quite a bit. But that's Sed's point. Comparing the two, China has even surpassed the US with pollution, well, in some matters, that is. Being that China is ranked number 1 as the greenhouse gas emitter. To conclude, if China stands by, the negatives would weigh upon the health system, taking a real cost upon the individuals, the health system itself, and the economy as a whole. As we speak, much expense is paid to resolve the matter, but in doing so, the cost upon the GDP will grow and grow. Through much put into the matter, it is impossible to truly say that the problem is even close to being resolved as of yet.